Great. So good to have all of you join us, book club meeting this week, this month. Somebody who has been a big influence in my life, Tony Robbins. We've all heard his name. I hope we have. Over the years, he's influenced hundreds of thousands of, if not millions of people. There's more good that he is, he's really helped lots of people. Many years ago, I read his book, Awaken the Giant Within. And that was my first introduction to Tony Robbins, and I really loved the book, learned about things that I did not know. And so this video, I found it on YouTube, and I wanted us to watch it and then to talk about it. So there's like 20 slides or so. There's a lot of content that he shares, and it's tough to do justice in trying to pack it in 20 slides. If you want, we'll give you the PowerPoint deck because it's a nice summary. And there's some education of, the points that I got, but then I want to bring it constantly throughout the thing. I want to bring it to you guys. So I want you guys to kind of come and think, be here present, really in sharing what's relevant for you and so forth. So who's the leader you look up to the most, and what is it about the qualities or actions that inspire you besides myself? Joking.
Kind of ran out of options at that point.
But share like, people in your life growing up, things, one or two individuals that have influenced you. Sometimes it's a parent, sometimes it's a leader of an organization or what have you. Free flow. If anyone's thinking of a name, please share that.
For me, I'll go real quick. So as a youth, I think two of the leaders that I felt were most influential in my life were one of my scout masters and Boy Scouts growing up, and qualities were just, compassionate, caring, actions were, he was I would say, not hard on us, but he was strict. He didn't put up with lack of performance. He wanted the best out of us. And then the second one would be my youth group leader at my church. And, qualities for him was just, the outpouring of love and caring towards us, and just, empowering us to do the same to others.
So these people had an imprint on you. Like, this is probably 20, 30 years later.
Yes.
And you're sharing them, you're thinking of them, you're sharing about them. So they made a change on you. They had an influence in you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's not temporary, is it? It's lasting. It's a lifetime. We change lives over a lifestyle. Anyone else for a quick?
Yeah, I had a high school teacher that was, the class was a drafting class, believe it or not, and that's but he really just kind of, maybe it was just a class where he really talked about life in general. It was really kind of, it's always been kind of just had a special place in my heart, just to, particularly being a senior in high school and going off to college. He brought back some of his students to talk about what college was like and stuff. I mean, he didn't have to do any of that stuff, but like I said, it was a drafting class. But he just, it was just, at that point in my life, it was someone that I needed just to kind of point me in the right direction. And I think it probably changed my trajectory to where I might have been going to where I am now. So definitely, definitely him.
Wow, amazing. Great, cool, super. Feel free to share that, the question there anytime today. Why leadership matters, a few slides just from an instruction standpoint of what Tony shared. Leadership isn't just about managing people, it's about transforming lives and driving lasting success. Lasting success, that's kind of what we heard from John and Mike, is 20, 30 years later, this is people you're thinking about. So Tony reveals how to master the inner game of leadership. So there's like this inner game, and then there is the skill set, right? There's two things there. And that's what we're going to be talking about in the slides to come. And we start off with mindset. And Tony says, like, mindset is 80%, skills is 20%. Mindset is everything. What sets great leaders apart is their unwavering mindset. They believe in infinite growth and in turning obstacles into opportunities. He talks about emotional intelligence. Exceptional leaders just aren't reactive, they're emotionally intelligent. They thrive in chaos, remain calm under pressure, inspiring the team to do the same. Unshakable self-belief. They operate from a place of deep self-confidence, not ego, driving the teams with purpose, vision, and a relentless drive to achieve. So mindset is super important when it comes to leadership. What is the mindset? And one of the things that is an important driver of mindset is inner beliefs. Yeah, it is inner beliefs. And we have empowering beliefs, things that help us, and then we've got limiting beliefs. Right? So we'll talk about some examples there. But core principles, your beliefs are the foundations of your actions. Like what you think, what you believe is who you are. Because who you are is your actions, but it's what you're thinking. Famous book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Like the whole title of this book was Think and Grow Rich. Of course, there's action as well, but thinking is where it starts. It's our beliefs. So we do have, as human beings, we have empowering beliefs. Things like I'm limitless, I have the power to create change, I'm destined to success. And then we also have limiting beliefs, and we all have them. I'm not good enough. This is too risky. I'll never make it. And as we go through life, we have these two sets of beliefs. They change. And in the phase of life that we're in now, we want to look and take an inventory and say, all right, what are the beliefs that are serving me? And then what are the beliefs that are getting in my way? Yeah, what are... and of course, something he says is when we identify that limiting belief, we can change it, we can rewrite it. And that's rewiring the brain. And we have to first become aware of it, realize it's a limiting belief, and rewrite it to make it an empowering belief. I'll share with you guys something personal in my own life. Fairly recently, like 6-7 years ago, I was going through a very challenging time in my life. The business, challenges in the business, with the team, kind of in various ways, I was feeling very challenged. I was feeling very insecure. And I worked with a mentor, and she helped me identify that I had a limiting belief. She made me write down what that limiting belief was and how I would change it, how I would rewrite it to make it an empowering belief. She asked me to say it out loud every day in the morning for 10 minutes. I had to do that because I was just coming from a place of scarcity, from a place of fear. And I had to rewrite that, and I had to trick my brain to believing what I had rewritten. I feel I got out of that spot in my life because of what I did there. So I was turning a limiting belief into an empowering belief through that exercise. And the brain is it can be tricked. And it can be tricked by saying it out, reaffirming, saying it out, and that. So anyway, that was kind of just a personal thing that I wanted to share with you guys. What's like an example? Anybody can think of a limiting belief they have that like to change?
I'll go.
Go, Edna.
One of the limiting belief that I have, and this is really a challenge for me, um, is, I'm always telling myself I will not do this because the other person is not doing it. Like for example, at work, I would like to do extra mile, let's say, but the other person is not doing the same. So my limiting belief is I will not do it because the other one is not doing extra mile. So what's the difference between the two of us? We are getting paid the same and all of that. So I was really wanting to change that. And I had this idea in my head that I want to be different. I don't want to be like him or like her. So yeah, so that's something that I'm still working on.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? Something that's coming to your mind and say, yeah, that could be a limiting belief. It's getting in my way. I'd like to change it.
I think I have a limiting belief that I want to change. I have changed a lot of limiting beliefs about myself, and I also like Tony Robbins a lot. I have done his trainings, 4 or 5 days long trainings, and he does a very funny exercise. He said, "Okay, let's say if this is a limiting belief for you, like one was for me that I will end up alone." So it was a belief coming back from different experiences and all, And he says, "Okay, put your finger in your nose, and say say it loudly and whatever belief you want to create for yourself." So I worked on it. It took me a while, journaling and all, to come up with a, because I tried to come up with a belief I will not end up alone, but it doesn't make sense for my mind. So eventually I come up with a belief that makes more peace to myself, that it's okay if I end up alone. I'm not that of a bad person to live with myself. I'm a good person, right? So even if that happens, that's not gonna stop me. Even if that happens, it's not something so bad, right? And that's how I start changing, seeing different things and all. Another limiting belief that I'm working on right now is regarding abundance and receiving, financial income, and how, all of those kind of things. That what's my value, what's my worth, what can I achieve? So that's one of my limiting belief that I'm working on right now.
That's awesome. Great. Cool. Good. Let's let's
Can I
move on.
share one? Can I share
Oh
one?
yeah, of course. Yeah.
I'd say my limiting belief is that I feel at this time I can't keep like calm, cool, collected when I'm in a state of stress or being overwhelmed or frustrated. And this video spoke to that directly.
Yeah. Got it. Cool.
Mine is, I'm going to say mine is I don't have enough time. Constantly feeling I just don't have enough time, and in all areas of my life. And I think it's a limiting belief because I think it's a matter of, how come there would be so many people do such great things and feel that, they're accomplishing it. So that's something that I need to work on.
My limiting belief is when I put this slide this morning, I couldn't think of a limiting belief. That's my limiting belief. In the moment, I couldn't think of it. I was brainstorming with Edna. I can't think of a limiting belief. And that's my limiting belief. I've got many. All right. So we talk about mindset. We talked about beliefs. empowering beliefs, limiting beliefs, and then we talk about emotional intelligence. That's like the third facet here. Emotional intelligence is the secret weapon of exceptional leaders. Self-awareness is like EQ, emotional intelligence. It's the most powerful leaders understand themselves deeply, their strengths, weaknesses, triggers, self-regulation. They don't let impulses drive them. They choose their emotional responses, creating clarity in tough situations. Empathy. Great leaders don't just lead, they feel the pulse of their team, understanding their needs, motivations, aspirations. Social skills. Mastering the art of communication and building strong, meaningful communications is key to inspiring action. I don't know where social skills, I don't think, fits in here more. It's more, I think emotional intelligence is those first four bullets. It's EQ. It's having that sixth sense. It's reading the emotions of the people we are with and being empathetic, going where they're at, starting the conversation with where that person is, where that client is, where that prospect is. I think that's for me, that was kind of the skill there with emotional intelligence, is really getting inside the head of the person in front of us, because that's their world. That's where they're living in. We got to get there to really connect with that individual. I don't know. What thoughts, comments on this slide about emotional intelligence? I don't know if there's anything else on here about there isn't. So anyone else want to share anything on emotional intelligence? What comes to your mind when, with words that are on this slide? How do I go? This is anecdote that comes here that I need out. It's getting in the way of my buttons. Okay, there.
So yeah, I think I can share something.
Yeah.
So for me, I think emotional intelligence is one of the most important skill, because first, it has four different levels. First level is self-awareness. So when you become self-aware that who I am and who I have been, my experience have shaped me to a person. What kind of habits do I have? What kind of beliefs that I'm holding? What, let's say, triggers me? Then only, you can utilize your strengths in different situations and then work on your improvement areas. And then emotional mastery is like kind of an ultimate goal, because then you are controlling your mind and your mind is not controlling you. So for me, emotional intelligence is basically, first starting with yourself, your self awareness, and then you also, again, that's, see, self regulation and empathy. And then eventually you will be able to control your mind, because what a lot of times our mind is controlling us, our thoughts, our emotions are driving our actions. So that's how I think I see emotional intelligence.
Nice. Thank you. You did a better job of recapping that than I did.
Yeah, and I also think, if I could add, this really comes into play. I mean, anybody can be empathetic and and control themselves when things are going great. But when things aren't going great, that's what separates the leaders from the bosses. Because I think that it's, when things are starting to fall apart for whatever reason, there's a problem, there's an issue, whatever the case is, and being the boss or the one in charge, and having people below you having to fix that. It's how you communicate with them, is whether they're going to feel like they want to help or they get into a defensive position. So I think that mastering that is key to motivating people when you really need them the most, when the chips are down, so to speak. I think that's kind of what the importance of this is, because when things are going great, anybody can do it. When things are going lousy, this really comes into play. Excuse me.
Well said. The next facet is communication. Influence through words and presence. Powerful communication. Exceptional leaders just don't just talk, they communicate in ways that inspire, move, engage others. Their words are strategic, impactful, and transformative. The magic of storytelling, using stories to connect, teach, uplift. Stories allow them to create emotional connections and drive loyalty and action. And then active listening. Leadership is much about listening as it is about speaking. Best leaders listen to understand, not to respond, creating trust and respect within their teams. Love to get some thoughts, comments on anyone. Davis, I can call on you on this one. I know this is one that's near and dear to you. The power, importance of communication. You've shared it in a prior book club meeting or even in personal conversations you and I have had. Tell us a little bit more about how this comes to you, this slide.
Yeah, I was actually thinking connected to the previous point as well. I told you we own a small restaurant here, and I was trying to think about a case we had recently. Our lead cook, she was exceptional with the job she did, and she was pretty fast. But when things went like crazy during the season, she wouldn't handle it, right? And she would start yelling at the rest of the staff, demanding and creating chaos. And I try to work on that with her, and I try to think about how in the past I had to actually work on that myself, because I manage large groups of people, and it's not all fun times at all times, and especially like in tech support environments, and you get demanding customers and such. And then when the stressful times come, then you need to demonstrate your real leadership, right? And you do that by properly communicating with the team and showing the proper behavior, and showing that you are there to assist. There's a lot of things. So you can have a lot of skills, like this person that I just mentioned, but if you don't have the communication level, then the rest of the things are not going to help you at all. And it's something that I continuously try to improve myself, like how to stay calm during stressful moments and be able to translate that or to show that to other people, that I can stay calm in stressful situations, and that way they can do the same, right? So yeah, communication is definitely a key, and the way you react in stressful times, and how you interact with your teams.
Yeah, because along those same lines, if you're, it gets past, and I think Tony Robbins mentioned something like it goes downhill, starts at the top and works its way down. So if you're, basically a screaming Mimi all around the place, everybody else is going to react in that way. But if you're calm, communicating, and and basically, if you're not in a sense of panic, then others will feel aren't in a sense of panic either, because they're just as stressed as you are, particularly if it's a group issue. So I think that's the last slide and this slide kind of work together. Like the first one is kind of gather yourself, and the second one here is communicating with the team what needs to be done, and still being empathetic to it could have been one person's screw up who happens to be on that team that's affecting everyone now. So not to single them out, but to have everybody work together to fix the problem, whatever it is. And that's kind of where that comes in. So you're kind of like anything else. You kind of, okay, let's get our hands dirty together and fix this problem, and we'll get through it, as opposed to coming into the office or whatever it is, screaming like a crazy person because you just got off the phone with an angry client.
Cool. Great. Thanks, Mike, for sharing that. Let's move on. Vision and strategic thinking. So kind of moving from internal stuff, and one of the next ones is vision. Really, it's begin with the end in mind. Know what that end is, whether it's if you're an owner of a business, whether you're a team member in a business, your professional career. what's your career path? Even from that standpoint, or if you're a business owner, where do you want your business to be? And that's kind of what this slide is about. Leaders have a vision that is not only big but motivating. It becomes a guiding star, the source of their resilience. When we are in a career in a company, we need to influence and our family to support us so that we can be the best we can, the best team member in that organization. So I think it really works from both sides, as a team member, as an owner of a company. And then there is strategy, having the strategy so that the dream comes true, the vision comes into reality. And two examples he gives in the video. Starbucks did not invent coffee. He saw that in a coffee house in Italy, that environment, and he brought it to America. And same with McDonald's. He didn't invent fast food, Ray Kroc. He took something that was working, the McDonald brothers in Santa Barbara, California. They had long lines of people that started coming in, piling up at lunchtime. And he's like, wow, this is a pretty fascinating concept. And he took it to where McDonald's is now. So you don't have to be an original. You don't have to be an original, whether it's in business or in your career. Yeah, he says, find a role model and replicate them. Yeah. And that's what Tony Robbins has done in his own career. He found Jim Rohn that was his first job, was Jim Rohn. And Jim was at that time the number one, the master at making transformation in personal improvement in that space. I don't know about number one, but he was up there along the lines with other folks. And Tony Robbins became a team member in that organization. And then he just took it to a whole different level. So ideas don't have to be original. Decision making, being decisive, taking action. So when you have an idea, you got to take action. Can't wait. There is going to be resistance and all that. I think there is something on resilience. But let's have a quick chat about what's one successful strategy or idea from a different business or industry that you could adapt and apply to your own personal or professional life. What is something that is working in another industry that you can apply in yours? I didn't get much time to think about this slide, but just yesterday in our group meeting with Mike and John and Noor, in the tech meeting, Matt, he shared with us the resource referrals, how to make referrals easy. That's something that's working for Matt in the financial services industry. It's on my to-do list. He's saying it's something I'm going to look over on the weekend, spend some time. It's working for him in that industry. I got to take some time and see how we can make it work in the accounting industry. What are things like that you see around, either as a consumer, when you're buying things, your customer experience, and you're like, wow, I like the way they handled that. I like the way they did that survey. I like the way they asked me for a testimonial or for a referral, that we can adopt and bring it to our business.
Actually, the one thing that I liked, I don't know if you'll mention this later on. One of the things he mentioned was spend 90 minutes on the business each week. And I thought, you know what, that's a great strategy, because it, just nothing else but no dealing with problems, no dealing with that, but really strategize. I think that's a great strategy, just to even if it's doesn't have to be 90 minutes, even if it's 30 minutes or 40 minutes or even an hour, just to work on the business, not in the business. We're in the business every single day, 40 plus hours a week. We need to take an hour out of each week to say, okay, what can we be doing better? What strategies can we implement? Like you said, how are we going to get more referrals? How are we going to get, and just kind of brainstorm these ideas for an hour each week, just to kind of make sure that you're moving in the right direction. Because, let's face it, we all just kind of grind through, work piles up, work gets done, where more work comes in and so forth. And we don't take the time to say, okay, are we moving in the right direction? Are we attracting the right type of client? And so forth. And if we're not, what maybe our messaging is wrong. So, I think that's a great strategy, and that's something that I'm going to definitely be implementing, particularly, as I'm kind of having this second business starting to come to life. That's definitely something we're going to need to be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're thinking an hour and a half every week?
Yeah, it might be an hour, but it's just the idea is that each week you put it in your calendar, and and that is your time. It's your sacred time. It's like, we all say, well, we don't have time. Look, you have time for things that you need to do. Nobody sits there and goes to the bathroom in their pants because they have to go. They go. So, you find time for stuff if you really want to. Go, like John had mentioned it too. Find time. You find time. If you really want to do something, you'll find time. If your kids need something, you're going to find time to do it. If your spouse needs something done, needs to be driven somewhere, you're going to find time to do it. It's just, you can, we're not all as busy as we think, or I should say we all think we're busier than we are, because I think a lot of time we do spend a lot of time wastefully, and I'm not saying that it's not we spend time on social media, we spend time watching television, we spend time, whatever the case is.
It's prioritizing, it's being intentional. Yeah, one of the resources that I really liked is the 4 quadrants of time management by Dr. Stephen Covey. Urgent, important, not urgent, important, and all that. So yeah. Anyone else quickly on this slide here? The one idea, strategy they're thinking that's working in another industry that they feel they can bring it to their profession, their business?
For me, I would say have things a little more automated, where orders can be maybe redone online, so that there doesn't have to be as much interaction with the staff. So just being able to automate things a little bit more.
Cool. Nice. There's so many. There are probably so many, right? And it's and then it's really seeing which ones are going to make the biggest impact. The 20-80 principle. 2 days back, Edna and myself met, and we looked at our sales process at Straight Talk from the time we get a lead, from the time they became a client. And we did a brainstorm, and we came up with 4 ideas or 5 ideas. And then the next thing was, all right, which one's going to have the biggest impact? Which idea of these 5, we can't do all 5. Let's start with the one that's going to make the biggest impact. We identified that, and that's what we're going to work on first. Right? So lots of ideas, bringing down on paper and say, all right, which one's going to have the biggest impact? So it's bringing that 80-20 principle, the Pareto principle in action there. All right. Going good, going strong. A few more slides. Empowering others. Leadership is service. very quickly, the true role of a leader. A leader's job is to inspire and elevate others to help see their potential and believe in themselves. Coaching, mentorship, true leadership is about transforming lives, not just managing tasks. By mentoring others, leaders create a ripple effect of growth and success, and then creating a culture of excellence. Exceptional leaders cultivate a culture of excellence, setting high standards while providing the support and tools needed for others to thrive. So I think it's kind of just showing up. We don't think of leaders as the person that's at the top. We first see leadership in everyone here is a leader. I see myself as a leader when I go and have a meal in a restaurant. I'm not the owner of that restaurant. I am being served, but I'm going to show up as a leader, and my job is to, my role, in my head, I want to make sure that the person serving us is enjoying serving a good customer, a good guest. Like, that's what I am doing. I'm going to say words, say things. So I'm taking it personally. I take that responsibility. I want to make sure that Susan is serving us. Susan has a life. She has challenges. I'm going to be a good customer for her. I want to inspire her. So I'll do the little I can to show up in that way. I'm not going to be demanding. I'm not going to say, hey, what this? Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting a certain level of service, but I'm also going to do my part. So anyway, that was kind of a couple of thoughts in my mind. Anyone wants to chime in and share how does this slide resonate with you? What does it mean to you in your life?
I actually, I know you guys probably listen to me, but one of the things he had mentioned, and I think that's something that's really something we all need to strive for, is servant leadership. And the idea behind that is not that you're a slave to the person but you're basically, it's taking on the role of do unto others as you want done unto yourself. And leading by example, and not being and getting your hands dirty. And the idea is that you don't put yourself on a higher plane. As a matter of fact, you are below the surface and pushing everyone up is what you're doing. And I think that's kind of what I think the role of a true leader is like you said, to inspire and elevate others. Yeah, you're underneath. You're not at the top pushing down, but you're underneath and pushing up.
That's a great analogy. Yeah. Love to hear from Edna, Shaw, Noor.
Yeah, let me share something. So regarding that, I think bullet number one, the true role of a leader is to inspire. I actually experienced that recently for some of the events that I had. So I'm sure not everyone is aware that I do have an events management, and part of that is really leading the whole team to make sure that the event will go smoothly. So I do have there was an instance wherein my people or my team members are really having hard time completing a task because they have so much in their plate. And then I took the liberty of actually carrying the tables, carrying the chairs, and one of the member approached me and said, "Sir Carlo, why are you carrying the table? It's our job." To think that I was wearing coat and tie during that time and carrying a table, and then I told that person that since all of you are having hard time, all of you have so much on your plate, then I'll take care of it. Like what Michael said, a true leader is not afraid to have their hands dirty, and for me that is very important way to actually inspire your people. You should show them how to do it, and it's just easy to just say the words, do this, do that. but it will inspire them more if they will, see you doing it in action.
Great example. Yeah, you rolled up your sleeves with them. You got into their world. Sure, Noor, Davis,
Yeah,
anyone else
I
on
like
this slide?
I like what you said there, and it always reminds me of my father. I have a lot of respect for my father, but one weakness I saw from him constantly, he would half jokingly tell me, "Do as I say, not as I do," and that's frustrating for me because I think a true leader should lead by example and do. You know, with Tony Robbins, I think what relates to this is he said that leadership can be taught and learned, and the true leaders who want to free themselves, they hire other leaders and they train other leaders. And that's definitely true. You don't want to have to sit there and micromanage. You want to empower people to make decisions and be able to lead.
Yeah,
Agree.
yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Shall we move on?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do that. Noor, you'll have an opportunity to share. Davis, same for you in the next slide or so. All right. Oh, so next one's on resilience, bouncing back stronger. Every leader must cultivate the inner strength to bounce back from failures. Resilience is not just about surviving adversity, it's about emerging from it stronger and more committed. Reframing failure. Great leaders reframe failures as valuable feedback, not defeat. They learn from their mistakes, adapt quickly, and continue moving forward with even greater resolve. Noor, anything you want to chime in on this one? How does this speak to you? Davies, same for you.
So for me, and like even in my experience, I have worked with two very good leaders. So one proper like quality of one of that leader was that he was a great listener, right? So if you go to them and you speak and speak and speak, and he listens to you, and he just used to nod his head, so you really feel that he's listening. And then again, like role modeling is another one, where then you whatever the leader is saying, they're role modeling it. And of course, like, because for leaders, they are always facing different challenges, one or the other, because they're managing a big team, and they're in the business, they're in, let's say, in a company they're leading, or in a big department they're leading a department. So of course, resilience is one thing that they are very good at, because they don't only have to pick themselves up, they also have to pick the team up, and they have to reframe the failures, and find a good in that failure, or motivate their teams, and see what information to share with them, what information to keep with them. So definitely resilience and reframing failure is very, very important. And again, it's part of the mindset, right? How can you reframe your let's say setbacks, challenges, problems into some opportunities. And one thing that really, really helps is then going back into that gratitude mood, and identifying, okay, this one really not, like, what's the good in it? Still there is some good in every bad situation also. And that's not like something to say. I have practiced it, I have seen it, I try to practice it in my life, and there is always something good to find, even in the most bad situation.
Great words of wisdom there.
I almost see like this slide, communication slide, and the one that's the empathy slide. I can't remember the name of it. Like they're almost like three peas in a pod, because you collect yourself, you communicate what the issue is, you get it fixed, and now it's like, okay, what have we learned from this? So it's almost like this is like the final step in that, because obviously you don't want to do it again, but it's like, okay, what did we learn? We learned we need to follow this, we need to watch that. And I've just had an experience recently where we overlooked some things and it came back to bite us. We had to go back to the client with our tails between our legs, go, we screwed up, admitted defeat, but now because of that, it made us more aware of where things are falling through the cracks. And, and it's, and so now we're in a better position. So it's always a learning process.
Right. A story comes to my mind, an interview I heard, a very successful person, his name is Nido Caban. I don't know if that name resonates with anyone. Anyway, he was interviewed by a famous talk show host, Casey Kasem. Mike, does that ring a bell for you? Casey Kasem?
Oh, I know Casey Kasem.
Yeah, I thought you went, John. Okay, good. So anyway, Casey Kasem, somehow I came across this interview. He interviewed Nido Caban, who came from a first-generation immigrant from Lebanon. A lot of adversity. When he came, he became the dean of a university. He had a very successful career. So Casey asked him, what is this one skill? If there was this one thing that has led you to the success you've had, what is it? So Nido thinks, and he says, resilience. I've seen so much failure, and I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for resilience. It's my ability to get up, brush myself, and to continue the journey. And so anyway, that came to mind when it comes to the words resilience. Sure. And I heard that interview some 15 years or so back, and it influenced me in terms of resilience. All right. 10 more minutes. Mastering leadership skills. I don't know if somebody was going to say something. Hold your thought. We're going to have an opportunity to share. I think this is more just kind of as a recap, mastering leadership skills. Goal setting, vision. Without goals, something we have all heard and know how important that is. Time management, that came across as a limiting belief. I think, John, you shared it, and then Mike, you talked about time management there as well. Important how we manage time, how we prioritize things. Delegation, an important skill of leadership, is delegating to others. And negotiation is about finding that middle ground. It's creating that win-win situation. It's seek first to understand, then to be understood, and then find that common ground. So just some of the skills, and this is the skills part that, that's leadership. The first part was more on mindset, inner beliefs, and this here is on the skills side. The impact of exceptional leaders. Exceptional leaders don't just manage, they inspire entire movements, creating lasting change and leaving a legacy. Results speak. The extraordinary impact of visionary leaders is reflected in thriving teams. Oh, shoot. When I click on it, and then there is this annotate thing that I have to find a way to remove somehow. But I'm going to move on. How to become an exceptional leader, adopting a leadership mindset, creating a vision that inspires, taking unstoppable action, empower and elevate others. All right, question for everyone. What is the one best investment you can make? It's a quick, easy question. I'm looking for an answer. Is it investing in stocks, mutual funds, precious metals, crypto, real estate?
I would say learning
yourself, right?
Invest in yourself, sure.
That's the best investment we can make, is learning, investing in ourselves. Investing in yourself comes in different ways. The best investment you can make is through continuous learning, books, courses, seminars. I tell you, these days, guys, people, there's no shortage of that. Podcast, amazing stuff that's out there. Amazing books, people that have shared 20, 30 years of experience in a book. In 200, 300 pages, you can learn from somebody's experience. Something that I learned from Tony Robbins is the way he became a master at something is he would get all the books that were on that subject He would take 2 weeks, 3 weeks. He would pour through those books and get through them. And that's all it takes sometimes is 2 or 3 weeks pouring yourself in any area that you want to become a master at. So these are some examples of investments you can make. Building strong relationships, foster connections with mentors, peers, and your team. I feel that there is a lot of opportunity that people miss if they attend a seminar. They're in a group setting and they're not learning from the people that are there. And the people around us can be a wealth of knowledge. And we can benefit from it if we ask those questions. So building those relationships with mentors, peers, and your team. In events that I've attended, in seminars that I've attended, I have learned more sometimes from the outside conversations that I've had with people, including the speaker, buying them coffee, buying them breakfast. I didn't even think about it. One of my businesses became what, it started from a breakfast. One of the speakers in a meeting, he said, Salim, why don't you do this? And I'd reached out to him and said, hey, David, can I buy you breakfast? Will you meet with me for an hour, while we have breakfast? And he gave me an idea 15 years ago. He said, Salim, why don't you start a newsletter for the CPAs? Call it the Superstar CPA newsletter. And it's going to help share your ideas in a newsletter, 10 pages, charge $99 a month. I started that from that idea. That name, the whole thing, I kept it exactly the way it was. It's from just taking the time, going out and having that breakfast meeting. It cost me a few bucks for that breakfast, but it was well worth it. Practice gratitude and resilience. Practice gratitude daily, develop resilience, mindset shifts. Cultivate a growth mindset by embracing challenges, learning from failures, and pushing beyond your comfort zone. So just some examples of kind of investments we can make in ourselves. This is a picture of my library. I took it this morning with Edna's help. And this is like 1/5 or 1/10 of the collection. Like everywhere, if you walk in my house, there's like piles of books that are there. Just become a prolific reader the last 25 years. None of this is to brag. It's just to kind of, I've been around, I think, longer than most people in this room, if not everyone in this room. It is everyone in this room. I've been around longer, so I have the right to kind of give some examples of things that have worked for me in my personal life. So just come from a place of sharing how important recognizing, creating that mindset of constant learning, everyday learning. On the weekend, this weekend, there's 1 or 2 hours of learning for me. Webinars, podcast. I cannot go the whole weekend without that type of knowledge and wanting to learn, even on a weekend. All right, we got a few more minutes before we finish off. Let's quickly go around the room. I want everyone to have the opportunity to share, but we have only 3 minutes left. So 30 seconds or less, we'll do a kind of like a fire drill. 1 or 2 things that have resonated the most with you. 30 seconds each. Who is starting us off?
I'll start. So, what resonates with me would be emotional intelligence and bouncing back after a failure. For me, that is very important.
Nice. Next.
Yeah, I think, while we were sharing the slide, that comes to my mind that if anyone asks me if I want to teach my children something, that is resilience and emotional intelligence, because that's how important it is. And I think what resonated with me is in the video is that 90% is mindset, and then 80%, 90% is mindset, and 10 to 20% is mechanics. So, and then of course, keep working on your beliefs, keep continuing, improving yourself.
Nice. Cool. Awesome. Great. We got 2 minutes. Who's next? 30 seconds
One
or
of the things
less.
one thing that we never talked about is bringing new voices to the table, because new voices bring new questions. Having someone look at your business from the outside in gives you a completely new perspective on what you're doing and what you could be doing better.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for giving us that gem at the end. Cool. Who's next?
I'll go. So one of the things that I made some notes too. So being a student of what works, success, he says, success leaves clues. So be observant about what's working around you and other, whether it's under other industries or other businesses similar to yours, and then follow those clues and apply to your own business. And also, when it comes to failure, he said it, and it's not something I've heard before many times in my life, but it always holds true, is failure is only when you stop getting up. Just keep getting up, and then you're not failing. You're just learning along the way.
What a lovely mindset. All right. Who's next?
I was gonna say that. Sorry. Go ahead.
For me, it's destroying limitations. So in the video, he says that when someone's frustrated or overwhelmed, your brain processes completely differently than when you're in a determined or passionate state. And he has a 90-second rule. He lets himself stress for only 90 seconds, and then he puts them back in a different state. And the really most powerful line of the whole video for me was that you can get back to strength, and you can get back to strength by using the body first. Try to use your mind, and you will go in circles.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk much about physiology. That's a great point of how important physiology is to the body to then change the mind. Davis, last but not least.
Yeah, no, just to reiterate, resilience and learning from mistakes and learning from other experiences, from people, companies. Look at the best and try and replicate the same. It has a lot to do with that.
Awesome. Super. You guys are amazing. Thank you all. This weekend, reflect on this. Give that oomph. Give that 10, 20, 30% more love, more kindness, more empathy, more listening. Amp it up. And that becomes a habit the more we do that. But do this weekend, is amp one of these things. All right, guys.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks,
Have a good one.
See you, Salim.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.